everybody, welcome to the Mike and Bradley sports scene as we're back for another edition of the award-winning television show, which anything could possibly happen. As a matter of fact, we got the award for being probably the craziest sports station show in television history.
It was one of those 50-50 awards. You know, 50% was crazy, 50% was not. I'll let you guys decide who is what.
As I was saying, my name is Mike Smith. This is Bradley Hargis, and you just heard from him. And we're going to discuss the usual suspects: the high school football scene, upcoming basketball season, various sports in Bledsoe County, and then college football, college basketball coming up, pro football, NBA basketball, and the World Series, of course, which will be coming up. But first, unfortunately, we want to report a loss of a former Warrior. As tonight is Dylan Robeck. Passed away 2 weeks ago in a tragic car accident. Our hearts off to him and his family, and to his friend who'd also died in that crash as well. Of course, the funeral was last Saturday and Sunday for both men, and they are having a car show this weekend to raise money for help defray funeral expenses. It costs $10 to get in, but believe me, it's for a good cause. And we will, of course, again, our condolences to Dylan Robeck. His younger brother Damon plays on the football team, and of course, obviously his heart is very heavy at the loss. Just age 21, a sad loss here for everybody with Bledsoe County football. He was on the 2020 region championship team, the team that went 11-1 that year.
Was All-State his senior year, number 31, running back, and not as if that wasn't enough. His brother tore his ACL and is out for the year. So a lot of football family, Warrior Nation's really hurting right now for that. So certainly we want to keep them in our prayers.
I'm sure there's probably some sort of ceremony to honor him Friday night at the Gordonsville game, which will, by the way, will be the final regular season home game Friday night. That'll be senior night. We'd like the fans to show up for that. And, of course, one more game after that, Oneida. And, of course, Bledsoe County, of course, 7-1 on the season. No loss only to the York Institute. The next two games, of course, of great importance, but none greater than, of course, the game with Oneida. Win that, and you'll at least finish second, possibly first, if Polk County can do the job against York Institute. And, of course, some rumors has it probably will be Hampton will be coming down here in the first round if that situation recalls. Or Hampton, of course, suffered much in the Hurricane Helene effects, and we're going to talk about some classification moves. We have a few schools that are moving up and down in the classifications. But Bledsoe County this year, 7-1. We're going to get back to that. 7-1 on the season. Obviously, only allowing 10 touchdowns on the year. That's
not bad at 8 games. Not bad at all.
No. And of course, they have done the job. Have done it well. 2 weeks ago, they went to Polk County and defeated a good Wildcat team, 21-14. That was really an interesting game where Polk County drove it down, tried to the field goal, missed. Bledsoe County drove it down, field scored to take the lead, and it ended at 21-14. Of course, Friday night, Gordonsville comes to town. That's over in Middle Tennessee. We defeated them last year at Gordonsville. Again, senior night. How will that shake out for the third-ranked Warriors?
It's going to be interesting because right now Gordonsville's a 1A team, but now next year, you mentioned the reclassification. Gordonsville will be moving up to 2A. Now where they will wind up, what region they will wind up in, it remains to be seen. But we'll talk about that in just a second. But Bledsoe County is going to have their hands full. Gordonsville is not a pushover 1A team whatsoever. And matter of fact, the enrollment by rights, they should be a 2A team. But they didn't meet that number when the classifications was done in 2022, so it allowed them to play down into the region, to the 1A level. But Bledsoe County is going to have to buckle the chin straps. They're going to come into Pikeville and want to definitely make a statement, especially for them going into the playoffs. They're going to want to make a big win here in Pikeville over the Warriors. So Bledsoe County is going to have to really be hitting on all cylinders to stay on top of the Gordonsville High School.
Well, if they win Friday night and they win over Oneida, they finish 9-1, which would be their best record since they went 10-0 in 2020. And the thing is that it would favor Bledsoe County, because really if Bledsoe County beats Oneida and Gordonsville and Polk beats York, Bledsoe would be first because of overall record, which was one of those factors that count into the magic formula of how the TSSAA takes position teams. As for the postseason, we will not know really where Bledsoe might be playing, whether they'll be hosting the first round game, where they'll be on the road. Just depends on what happens the next couple of weeks. It's sort of like the magic formula with the Hurricane throwing things out. Normally it'd be a Region 1 game. This could change. We just don't know. So we know TSSAA is still probably trying to figure it out. We know some teams are in it right now. Bledsoe, York, and Polk are in the playoffs with three regions. The fourth place team is between Oneida and Tellico Plains. Tellico probably will be the favorite because they have 6 wins.
Mm-hmm.
That's for Tellico. That's a good season.
Oneida has to win the last game
to
get in the playoffs.
Right.
So there's another incentive for them. Last game of the season, Halloween night, by the way, at Oneida on Thursday night. So that's another incentive for them. But Wartburg's out. Oneida loses. Tellico wins out. Tellico will be the 4th place team. Bledsoe's at least going to be 3rd, regardless of what happens. Even if they lose to Oneida, they still have clinched 3rd place, regardless of what Polk and York do.
Yeah.
Bledsoe wins out. Polk beats York. Bledsoe's 1st. Polk 2. York 3rd.
Well, Bledsoe would have the tiebreaker over Polk since they'd beat them.
Well, it would go. It would go. The first thing would be the head-to-head.
Yeah.
Bledsoe beats Polk. Polk beat York. York beat us.
Right.
Okay. Well, that first tiebreaker is null because obviously one beat one beat the other beat the other.
Yeah.
So it goes to overall record. Bledsoe would have that if we win out, because even if we lose to Gordonsville and beat Oneida, we will still have the best record because it will be a tie between us and York, and then we would then come back to win the head-to-head, so we'd still be 1st place.
Right.
So ideally, Bledsoe wins out. That would be. We just need to do our job and hope that Polk takes care of York, because
I believe that will be a Friday night game.
York has to drive all the way down to Benton for Friday night.
Right.
So.
Well, I would say probably is that I'm probably York and Polk is probably a Friday night game, so we will not know until the weekend exactly where Bledsoe will be going. So hang on your hats. This should be a bumpy ride. Of course, as again another high school football knows, Alcoa is moving up to 4A. They'll play in 4A next year. They're in 3A currently. That's probably going to be a little tougher for them to handle. And Wartburg is moving down from 2A to 1A next year in all sports. I'm not absolutely sure it was be football at this point, but they'll be moved down to 1A in other sports.
The powerhouse Pearl Cone was also going to be a 2A school. Of course, they would likely fall into Marion's region if they would have stayed in 2A. But Pearl Cone, they have elected to play up to 4A. So they'll be playing with the likes of Alcoa, who's played up to 4A or went up to 4A. Grundy County, they were in 3A last season with Community, Giles, Sequatchie, and Watertown. Their enrollment went down. They're going down to 2A. So they're going to have to put Gordonsville and Grundy somewhere. Wartburg is going to 1A, so they're going to be out of our region. Westmoreland went up to 3A, so they're going to be out of Region 3. And Region 4 is all but destroyed because Fayetteville went down to 1A. Cascade and Forest goes up to 3A, only leaving Cannon County and Marion. So it might be that they put Grundy and Gordonsville with Marion and Cannon and make that a 4-team district like this Region 4 1A.
Yeah.
Very possible. It is also possible that Bledsoe is pulled out of ours and we play with Marion and play West in Region 4. So we're right in the middle. I'm really hoping they do some redrawing. Region 1, 2A is probably going to be the same. Nobody left. Nobody went up or down.
Right.
Geographically speaking, it makes more sense. The only thing that might change is you've got to put Monterey somewhere. You've got to feel that. You've got to put Trousdale, Monterey, Jackson, East Robertson, Smith County. You've got to fill those teams out somewhere. So somebody's going to have to go west, or somebody's going to have to go south and east. And it just depends on what TSSAA does.
You could put, say, like Monterey, Bledsoe, York, Marion, in a region reconstituted Region 3. That would be what would be an acceptable situation because Oneida would go and remain in Region 2 along with Tellico and Polk. I would put those three in the Region 2 because they're basically more shifted over to there. Or you would even have Oneida going to Region 1.
Ideally,
for Hampton.
For me, I think it would be nice if Marion and Grundy shifted over to Region 2 with us.
Yeah.
Maybe Cannon goes to Region 3 with Jackson, Monterey, Smith, and Trousdale. Only problem with that is that leaves York and Oneida kind of hanging. Where are you going to put them? I mean, you've got to put them somewhere. And
you would put them at Monterey probably as a one opponent, and you would also you can conceivably put them with Tellico. Now you got Polk, who's going to be the odds man out.
And that's how crazy this is. The last game of the season, and TWSAA's taken the region schedule out of the coach's hands. That's why we're playing Thursday night games and Friday night games. That's why it's all mixed up, because of the shortage of referees. So, in their grand wisdom, TWSAA says that Bledsoe County is going to play Oneida the last game of the season. York is going to play Polk, and Tellico is going to play Wartburg. Now, if you're familiar with how the state of Tennessee is laid out, that makes every team has to take their longest trip the very last game of the season.
Yeah.
So, why in the world they didn't have York playing Oneida, Polk playing Tellico? Either way, we're going to have a long drive, and us go to Wartburg. Or Wartburg play Oneida and us play York. I mean, on the last game of the season, it didn't make sense, but that's TWSAA for you.
I think it's what they used to say. Used to throw darts.
Yeah,
hey, this guy plays this guy, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, the TWSAA also has the hurricane problem. What are they going to do with these schools in the upper East Tennessee?
There are region games that still got to be made up.
That's right.
Not going to either not going to be played, or they're just going to have to play with the record of 6-1 or whatever and be done with it, because there's 2 weeks.
Well, of course, you remember the COVID where a lot of teams had to skip games and that sort of thing. So let's right now. Now, one of the rumors is that Hampton will come down here in the first round if Bledsoe finishes first or second, because they are resuming their football playing at Happy Valley. That's their temporary home field, and then again, you just never know. Of course, Hampton may not be a factor next year because they're probably going to 1A. Of course, you remember Whitwell almost became 2A because they were about 20 students short, I believe. Again, this is what I think should happen. Okay, pre-1983. Do it like pre-1983. You had the old Sequatchie Valley Conference. That would work. You would have South Pittsburgh, Marion, Bledsoe, Sequatchie, Grundy, and Whitwell in as a region team. That would keep it local.
Well, the South Pittsburgh Pirates are not going to agree with that.
No, well, I know they won't agree to play Marion County anymore if you believe what the Marion County people say. But again, the South Pittsburgh probably would say the same thing about Marion County, and that sort of thing. And I think for some people in Marion County and South Pittsburgh are a little incensed that suddenly Bledsoe, Sequatchie County is a real rivalry in the Valley. Well, that's tough. You guys don't play each other. What's going to happen? That sort of thing. It happens. Second of all is that I think the TWSAA needs to rethink about, hey, look, economics. It costs money to go to games. Tellico played Watertown in the first round a couple of years ago, and they said they only have 50 fans come out from Tellico Plains. That's a long trip. That's halfway across the state, literally, for Tellico. So remember, this is got to be. So what do you do? We will not know until the weekend of Halloween where Bledsoe may be going, where Bledsoe may be hosting, and that sort of thing. I think the TWSAA, and this is sort of a proposition. Every odd year, okay, first and second place teams goes on the road in the first round, while third and fourth hosts a first round. Let them get a little every odd year. Flip it over. Sort of.
Well, that would in some ways that would be fair. That would be neat for the third and fourth place team. But however, I don't know that would be as fair as if I was the first and second place team, because if I played my games and I finished first and second, I've earned the right to host a playoff game.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that's going to be able to.
One thing the TSSA should not do is what they did, and you and I saw this coming in 2010, placing the first and second team in the region playing each other, Bledsoe and Sequatchie County, because the region loses because one had to lose and would be out early, and I don't know what was Childress drinking.
Well,
in the T-Dog stuff, like what was he drinking?
I have a really good idea of why that occurred, but for the sake of us being on a public forum here, I'm not going to mention that.
You're a preacher, you should know better.
But I've got a really, really good idea of why we played Sequatchie County in the first round that year.
Yeah, I got a feeling if Childress had been in that press box with us at that time, I'm sure you would have had plenty to say to him about it, and I think
oh yeah,
would have been interesting. But remember, is that the TSSA playoffs, when they first started out in 1969, only the league champ went to the playoffs, and they played the championship at the higher seed, I guess. And then, of course, they went to two teams in the 70s, and then 3 in the 80s, and then they went to 4, and which is currently right now. So you look at Region 2. You got Bledsoe, you got York, you got Polk as the 3. They're nailed down. Their playoff berths are set. Their playoff is set. Position, we still have to find out what's going to happen. And of course, 4th. Tellico Plains, I would probably bet would probably be the team to hit. After all, they're 6-3, so they win the season, something that they hadn't had in quite a while. And Tellico Plains was a very good team.
Sure.
And they were a pretty good team. The fact that we probably beat them like a rug, but they were a very good team. But this sort of you look at Wartburg. It wasn't us being the better team to beat them. It was them self-destructing. And
they were struggling majorly on the field. Inner team scuffles, you might say. That was really difficult to watch. I mean, for a football fan, you knew something was up because they were pushing and shoving going off the field at halftime. And security had to be called up there at the locker room because they were fighting with one another. So that's not a good sign at all for any team to go through, let alone someone who's already getting beat. Add to the frustration. I mean, that's tough.
By the way, before we go on with some more of the local scene, we want to wish your wife Emily a happy birthday, and happy birthday. She had a birthday recently, so
September.
Well, it just came up. I just remembered it, so I figured, better late than never.
Well, mine was Monday.
Did you give her a cake and ice cream?
No.
What?
No.
You're cruel.
She didn't want cake. We got cake from my in-laws. So we celebrated hers in September, and then celebrated mine this past weekend. So I'm finally old as my cousin Derek for about 3 more weeks. That's kind of an inside joke that we have with one another. So.
Well, my birthday's next month, so I'm getting there. We want to, of course, recognize the Little Blue Junior football team. They got to the second round of the playoffs, and unfortunately, the season ended for them. But congratulations to them for their efforts this year. We don't want to forget them. And
Bledsoe County does host the Harvest Bowl this Saturday. It'll be the championships for Weepees, Peewees, juniors, and seniors, along with the cheer competitions for each levels in between the games. So if you don't have anything to do Saturday, or you're looking for some good, clean fun, come up to the Little Blue. They're actually it's going to be at the high school, on the high school field, James T. Warden Field, Johnny Boynton Stadium, Saturday. Be starting that morning, and then they'll have the four games plus all the the cheer competition. So come and support our Little Blue Warriors. I do believe we have Peas are playing for the championship, and I believe that is the only team. Juniors lost, seniors lost, and the Pee-wees lost, but the Wee Peas are representing Bledsoe County in the championship ball game in the Harvest Bowl. So come down and support those guys and girls that'll be competing in the cheer competitions.
So congratulations to all those teams for their fine seasons and for their fine efforts. They'll be future warriors in a few years' time, and that sort of thing. But again, Bledsoe County, and of course, I think basketball will be around the corner shortly, and we'll of course cover that as well here tonight. When we come back, we'll talk about the college football season and the upcoming college basketball season. As of course, Tennessee's big wins over Florida and Alabama, we'll discuss that in depth, and plus the SEC overall and the national college picture. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, G.G. Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we are back. College football and college basketball. It's the 8th week of the college football season, and it's 8th or 9th week of the college football season. And of course, they have college basketball coming up. Preseason practice is beginning for teams across the country. Of course, the SEC is full of interesting things this week. Of course, not interesting more than Tennessee and Alabama the third Saturday in October. And Bradley, you were there, and I'm going to ask you.
I wasn't there this past weekend.
Yeah, well, okay.
I was at the Florida game.
You had your picture. At
the Florida game, but I was not at the Alabama game.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you the question anyway, shortly. But anyway, Tennessee, of course, knocked off Florida 23-17 in overtime. Tennessee did not do very good in the first half, and trailed 3-0. But Tennessee came alive in the second half and won in overtime 23-17 over the Gators, their second win in 3 tries against the Gators. And then the next week, Tennessee took on Alabama again. A bad first half performance by the offense. Defense held Alabama to 7 points. And unfortunately for Alabama, Tennessee again woke up and came down there and scored. And the interception sealed the deal, a 24-17 Tennessee win, which the goalpost came down, and they had a little bit of a tussle. Security forces weren't going to let them take that goalpost to the Tennessee River. They're expensive. The SEC has fined Tennessee $100,000 for allowing fans on the field and that sort of thing. And that insult to injury there, it's going to go to the University of Alabama. So You tell me what's going on, but
Well, I kind of understand the fact of storming a field, but and I know it's the second time we beat them in 3 years. I get it.
yeah,
But the first time we beat them in Neyland at the field goal, storm the field.
Yeah.
The first time, 15, 16 years we
15's losing this year.
15 years that we'd beat them. But I kind of feel bad about storming the field this time because
I didn't really approve too much of it.
we
the second
kind
time around.
of we're number 7 in the country right now. We're not an unranked team. We're not a low ranked team in the 25. We're in top 15. So there's really no reason. Where does Tennessee where do teams get? And I had the same deal with Oregon when Oregon beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Oregon's first Big Ten, win. I get it. But why would they storm the field? Because Oregon was third in the country. At some point, your fans have to build up and recognize the prestige that your team has, and it shouldn't be a surprise that they win.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been a surprise to Tennessee fans when we beat Alabama in Neyland. Where do you cross that threshold? Because if Alabama had beat us in Bryant-Denny down in Tuscaloosa, they wouldn't have stormed the field.
No.
No. I don't know that I approve of the storming the field this time.
No.
And I think it was just an excuse to those who
I
were there
so.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
We're there and stormed the field.
I missed the first time, so
so they're going to do it again. Yeah.
I don't think there were that many fans on the field this time around.
No.
But of course, Alabama, of course, under Kalen DeBoer, his first year, is obviously having some trouble offensively. They after blowing a big first half lead against Georgia, they absolutely bombed against all the teams in the world. Vanderbilt at Nashville. And not only Vanderbilt won, they dominated from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And Vanderbilt, of course, right now is 5-2. They're ranked in the top 25. They're hosting number 5 Texas Saturday, and it's a good bet that maybe Vanderbilt can snag another big win, which will make Vanderbilt 6-2, and that would be the biggest win for Clark Lee outside the Alabama win.
It's the first time in a while Vandy has cracked the top 25, mm-hmm. and they had some good years back when Rogers and Cutler was their quarterback, but they are 25th in the country with a 5-2 record. Alabama's season's not over. They're 5-2 right now. There's still plenty of football left to play, so it is possible that Alabama could work their self back up.
They would have to win out.
And potentially be in the 12-team playoffs that they are doing this year. It's very possible. But the Alabama faithful are chomping at the bit right now. They're trying to figure out, what to do with DeBoer, and he's a good coach, don't get me wrong. And the problem with him is he's following the legendary Nick Saban. That's his problem.
You had that similar with Ray Perkins when he took over from Bear Bryant. Ray Perkins was determined to do it his own way. You can't blame a coach for that.
Right.
And yet the way he went about it, he took down the coaching tower. That he probably should have left it up. He didn't handle questioning very well, and basically a lot of things. The joke going around in Alabama at the time, if there was one person in the state of Alabama that liked Ray Perkins, he'd call him up and make him change his mind, and that was the joke going around. If you look at it this way, for the first time since 1984, Alabama has lost to Vanderbilt and Tennessee in the same season. That's 40 years, but you have to look at all of these things. You look at Georgia. They could have folded their tents after that Alabama loss. They didn't. They beat Texas at Austin, beat them thoroughly, and really there's a quarterback controversy going on at Texas. Some rumors saying that the starting quarterback is going to sit out the rest of the season, get ready for pro football. Some say he's not. The Texas coaching staff, he's the starting quarterback. He got pulled, but that itself means nothing. But really look at it this way right now. Is that Tennessee with Nico is the best bet they got. His backup threw one pass. It was an interception. Be honest with you, he came in cold, and that.
Well, the Tennessee's fortunate is to have one of the top recruits in Nico's class, and then the ones behind him. Quarterback 1, 2, and 3 in Tennessee's class are in Tennessee's team. Were in the top 5 of their class.
Right.
So it is very, very likely if Nico continues to perform and finally starts to get into a rhythm and lives up to the hype, that the other 2 very likely will transfer. That's very possible.
The thing about you had was that you had the Nico in that second half did throw some passes that got his confidence back. So I would say right now is that Nico. Now they're off this week and they're going to have to play Kentucky. Now that's a night game. Now that means the dark mode jerseys, which Tennessee likes to roll out on games like that. That's Halloween weekend.
Yeah.
And Kentucky, to be honest, is not that good this year. I mean, they got humiliated by South Carolina. They got slammed by Florida. They got mauled by Vanderbilt. I mean, Lord knows, Brooks,
as strange as that might be, Kentucky played one of their best games against Georgia, almost beat them.
Yeah, almost beat them.
And that was when Georgia was the number one team in the nation, mind you.
Yeah.
So, again, you can't overlook that because Kentucky does have the capability. And actually, matter of fact, there were 2 games that should have been blown out this year, and one was against Georgia, and there's somebody else in the SEC, and it's slipping my mind, but Kentucky almost beat them.
Florida.
Almost beat them, and that was a huge shock to everybody. Yeah. But as ironic as it might be, Texas A&M is the number one team in the SEC right now.
Yeah, they are.
Because they are 4-0 in the conference. They're 6-1 on the year. LSU is 3-0 in the conference, and they're 6-1 on the year. I mean, everybody in the SEC, as far as overall record, has a loss. But LSU and Texas A&M are the only ones in the SEC conference play to remain undefeated. So it's odd because normally you look at the top 3 and you see Georgia, Alabama. You would normally see Georgia, Alabama, Texas, given that their overall record and their rankings in Tennessee. And Missouri plays Alabama this weekend.
Should be.
So, Missouri is the number 21 team in the nation. Mm-hmm. Alabama is ranked 15. They fell 8 spots after losing to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's odd because the week before, when Tennessee beat Florida, they fell 5 spots.
Right.
Alabama struggled with South Carolina
and jumped
and didn't fall at all. So, but Tennessee got the last laugh on that one as they beat Alabama last week. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, especially with the college playoff and the situation the way it is. Any team can lose. Indiana is the big surprise as they are undefeated right now, 7-0, ranked 13th in the country, and that's huge for a small team. But they've still got Penn State to go, Ohio State to go.
They'll probably lose
so it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Navy and Army are also undefeated. They're of course having some great seasons. Okay, well right now you're looking at this one. You look at Oklahoma. They got beat by Tennessee. Okay. They got savaged by South Carolina. They fired their offensive coordinator after that game. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you're the offensive coordinator and it don't work for you, you're going to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And will Brent Venables be at Oklahoma at the end of the season? Now the rumors going on they're going to fire him and try to get Josh Heupel to come back to Knoxville to Norman as the head coach. But Josh Heupel's not going to leave Knoxville. I don't think there's no advantage for him to do so. He loves Knoxville. He loves what Tennessee is. And Stoops, Bob Stoops wouldn't, him don't get along.
Right.
You pretty much tell right there. Kentucky, they say that Mark Stoops there may have just about worn his welcome out at Lexington, despite the record he's had for the past dozen years there. Florida's Billy Napier. People expected him to be fired weeks ago. He's still there. I don't know if that means anything. They have to play Georgia, so they're figuring out. Okay, let's see if he has an 8-4 record and finishes well. I think that's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Of course, and then of course Texas. They got to play Vanderbilt, and then Texas A&M end of the season, and that's that sort of thing. So anything can happen here. As for the CFP rankings, they will probably not come out until probably about a couple of weeks, so we wait and see what happens here right now. Tennessee right now has to play Kentucky at home. Mm-hmm. That'll be the dark mode game. Mississippi State at home. Has to go play at Georgia at Athens, which is, I think, in my opinion, is a winnable game. Then UTEP, and then Vanderbilt at Nashville. Now, Vanderbilt is the team you're going to watch out because I bet you if they beat Texas, they're going to say, you too, Tennessee. Because if
Vanderbilt beats Texas, of course, And I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because the same people that probably said that, if Vanderbilt beats Alabama, well, lo and behold, they did.
Yeah.
You know, it's really going to shake things up if Vanderbilt beats Texas. Do they play that at Vandy in Nashville?
They play that at Nashville.
Play in Nashville. So.
I would guarantee you right now is that if Vandy beats Texas, you can see those goalposts going down again.
Sure, yeah.
Probably should be, because Vandy, everybody thinks Vandy is. Hey, you want to win? Take Vandy. They don't, not anymore. Vandy's been very, very good the past 20 years. They a lot of things. James Franklin had great success the 3 years he was at Vanderbilt. They had, and now Clark Lee apparently has got that team rolling the way he wants to go. So, let's look. You just look how it is right now. So at this point, now let's go to basketball. Of course, college basketball about ready to start up their preseason practice. Tennessee is ranked number 12 in preseason, the men's team. The girls' team, I've not seen the rankings on that yet, but Tennessee's probably not in it. But again, you got the new coach for the ladies, Lady Vols, and to see how they'll do. Tennessee season opens up in late October when they host Indiana in a charity game. If you're going to go to that game, all the proceeds will go to the charity chosen there, not to the schools. And of course, Tennessee, the defending SEC champion, will try to continue under Rick Barnes. I was listening to a sports program this morning. Rick Barnes was talking about why he coaches at Tennessee. He says because he enjoys these young men going into the gym, putting in the effort, doing the things that need to win. And he said that's what keeps him going. He said he enjoys coaching that and that sort of thing. And he said a good coach will always enjoy watching the games play. It's like Adolph Rupp used to say, if my team wins, it's because they did what I told them to do. If they lose, it's because they failed to do what I told them to do. And that sort of thing. So, you look at Kentucky and you look at Tennessee, you look at all those schools in the SEC and basketball league. You're going to look at them and you're going to say, well, who's going to be at the top this year? Who's going to be? Tennessee's one of those teams to pick the top. They're having the SEC basketball meetings this week. I'm not sure if it's over yet. They probably are. But you look at the basketball teams this year, and they're just absolutely. Tennessee, they say, is a football school, and yes, it is. You have a 100,000 seat stadium, but basketball is not far behind. Almost getting there, getting there on a level. Like Kentucky will always be a basketball school. Its football teams will never be up level with the basketball program there. What makes it so different?
Well, Tennessee's student athletes, I mean, across the board, in the last we'll say the last 5 years, have won more national championships than any school in the country. And that, now you look at nobody talks about the rowing team, national champions. Nobody talks about the swim team, national champions.
Track.
Nobody talks about the track team, national champions. Baseball team won a national championship. What championship?
Well, they talk about that.
Won the World Series. They talk about that.
Yeah.
The softball team is performing and is always up toward the top.
Right.
Football is now being revamped thanks to Josh Heupel and his crew. Men's basketball is winning SEC championships. I mean, across the board, Tennessee is bringing home more natty championships than anybody in the country, sport for sport. The big ones that matter, it might be a little different.
Yeah.
But we are winning. The culture at Tennessee is going back to what it used to be in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's like every school, every sport at the school, the competition has been driven up. Same thing that's happened. We talk about this a lot at the high school level with Bledsoe County.
Yeah.
The softball team has success, football team has success, and the other sports seem to follow.
Right.
You start building that program up as a whole, and that's that trickle effect, not economics, but that trickle effect going, with spirit and pride. We'll start branching out to those other teams, and they start performing well too. And the same thing's happening in Tennessee.
Tony Vitello said there'll be players from football, basketball, softball, other sports will sit in the stands and support the baseball team.
Hey, Vitello was on the sideline against Alabama.
Yeah.
And after watching his antics on the sideline, I firmly believe he might be the biggest Tennessee Volunteer fan that exists in the country and the world, because he was going absolutely nuts when Tennessee beat Alabama.
LSU offered him all the money in the world to come to LSU after winning the national title, and he said no.
Yeah.
My place is here in Knoxville, and that's what is. So you look at Josh Heupel. At the first season, everybody was like sort of getting nervous when Oklahoma was looking for a new coach as Lincoln Riley, who may be on his last legs at Southern Cal.
Yeah.
He said, and Heupel said, I'm not even really seriously considering it. And there was never a move to get him anyway. I think about Stoops had something to do with it. But you look at what you build the programs at. You look at it. You start at the bottom, you build up. When there's a story when Shug Jordan became head coach at Auburn University, football coach, Auburn University, they were broke. They had a 20,000 seat stadium. They played most of their games on the road. They were so broke. They didn't have any money to open up the doors. No uniforms, no practice facilities, nothing. They went to a bank at Auburn and borrowed $150,000. Not in the university name, but for Shug Jordan and the athletic director in their name. They paid it back, and that got them started. And 6 years later, they won a national championship at Auburn. That tells you that's when you start. You start small. They went from 0-10 the first year to 5-5. That was a big thing. Now they got a 90,000 plus seat stadium. It's got Jordan Harris Stadium. You look at Bear Bryant. He believed that when he started out, when he became head coach and athletic director at Alabama in 1958, they were in the red. They were broke. They were owing people money. They said 5 years later they were in the black, and they were building new facilities in that stadium. That tells you manage the teams, you manage the money, you manage every aspect of it. You manage it properly, and it grows. As they said at Tennessee, any sport you got is worth having, and that's it. Ray Mears, when he came to Tennessee, you had 400 fans at a final basketball game that season for Ray Mears. And they said, and Ray Mears told the story about when he was hired, Neyland was still the athletic director, but he was dying. And he didn't want to get rid of his friend, who was the basketball coach. He was also a football coach. In fact, that's how they did all those things. They got him in a hotel room, and Bowden White, who was acting athletic director, said, we can't show you the campus because somebody will tell Neyland. So he sits in there. He can't see the campus. He can't see the facilities. Nothing. And he takes the job sight unseen. Neyland dies a couple of months later, and only then they announced that Mears is the head coach at Tennessee. It tells you how, like I said, sometimes you have to go around the roadblock to get to where you're going. It just tells you right now is that the programs at Tennessee are flourishing, championships, everything is. Josh Heupel turned things around in 1 year, turned it from a program in trouble into a winning program. That's how it is, and he's won.
And if it's any help, I mean, I wouldn't want to help Florida, but if it's any help to Florida, they should know what it's like to go through the coaching carousel. Because look at what Tennessee has done. After Farmer was gone, we had Kiffin for 1 year, and then Dooley, then Jones, then Pruitt. I mean, those were horrible.
Well,
horrible setbacks.
I wouldn't say they were all horrible.
But I would say Florida knows what that's like too. After Spurrier, they went through Zook, and then they had success under Meyer,
yeah.
But then they went through
Dan
McElwain,
Muschamp.
Now here they are with Napier. So they need to learn from mistakes. You got to give coaches a chance to build the program. And that's the unfortunate thing with DeBoer. He comes into a powerhouse like Alabama, and Nick Saban has been successful for the past 16 years, with Alabama, and everything has been great for the Crimson Tide. DeBoer comes in as a top-notch coach, won at Washington. He's won everywhere he's been.
Uh-huh.
He's proven. He's got a good record. He's got a good resume. And he comes in and he follows legendary Nick Saban. You've got to give him time to build his program
that's what it is.
the way he wants to build
Yeah,
it, and
you
he'll
have to.
have the same success. You can't. It's not fair. And I mean, if Alabama, if they want to fire him, go right ahead. It won't bother me a bit. But
It'll cost him $40 million.
you're going to have to learn to give the coach a chance. If Tennessee would have given Philip Fulmer more of a chance after having one bad year and then he finished his contract out, maybe we wouldn't have been in the situation those horrible years that we had. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and it's business. And then people want to win. They want to win now.
Yeah.
You got to be patient with your head coach and the staff. And Tennessee has done that with Heupel, and look what's happened. I mean, Heupel come in. He had a renewed excitement and got everybody cranked up and hyped up. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Heupel.
Yeah.
But he got everybody invested into the team. Same thing at high school level that we've seen with Coach Tabor. He's got everyone invested into the program, and that's what it takes to have a successful sport program at any level of competition. You have to have the team invested, the staff invested, and the community around it invested. And good things happen when that all comes together.
You look back in the 1960s. Tennessee was sagging. Their football program was sagging because two things. One is that the coach Bowden White was running single wing. Now, if you are familiar with single wing, that's a power formation. You got to have the people to run it. And after 57, he didn't have the people to run it. Johnny Majors was the last of the true single wing tailbacks. That's what he used to say. Okay, in 1962, he had a losing season. Okay, they decided to make a change because Bowden White had caused some problems for everybody. He was drinking a bit, and he was that sort of thing. And the only reason he was fired earlier was because Neyland had backed him, but Neyland had died. Okay, what it was is that in 1963 they decided to dismiss White because he lost two potential good quarterbacks, Steve Spurrier and Steve Sloan. Steve Spurrier wanted to come to Tennessee. And Spurrier was, yeah, sure, you can come as a punter, not a quarterback, because the quarterback was a blocking back. The tailback was the quarterback. And that's not what Spurrier wanted to do. So he went to Florida. Sloan went to Alabama. Spurrier said, well, I didn't want to step being third string behind Sloan in Alabama. That's the reason why I didn't go to Alabama either. But what happened was that they replaced him with Jim McDonald, who was an assistant on the staff. And it was late in the year. They couldn't make any changes, so they had to run a single wing. To his credit, he went 5-5. So they had a meeting after the season is over. What are we going to do? They went to Bob Woodruff. You're the athletic, find the man. And he knew who he wanted, Doug Dickey. And Dickey turned that around. He scrapped the single wing and went to I formation. That way he could recruit 5 to 7 quarterbacks a year. Because what it was, they asked him, what would you do, first thing you do, if you want to be head coach of Tennessee? Scrap the single wing. Get rid of it. They said, recruit in the state of Tennessee where the talent is, nowhere to get. First 2 players he recruited was Bob Johnson out of Cleveland, Tennessee, and John Boynton. And you know what Dickey said? He said the 2 of the biggest guys I'd ever seen in my life. And if all my recruits are like that, I've got the easiest job in the world. And as a result, Tennessee wins an SEC and a national title under his turn. Under his term. That's how it is. You get the right guy in there who knows how to make things. You look at Tabor. He doesn't say, hey, we're just going to do it for this year. Let's build for the long term. And that's the important thing. That's what you do. Let's look at Lane Kiffin. He comes in, never was a part of the Southern scene. He seemed to not really wanted to interact with the fans, and he leaves. Derek Dooley came in late, never got any traction, and he had 3 straight losing. You had Butch Jones. Everybody thought, well, this guy's doing it. He's doing it right, and then he stumbles late in his tenure. They bring in Jeremy Pruitt, and they say Jeremy Pruitt just absolutely just was rude to fans. He was completely rude to fans, they say. And he got him in trouble. He tried to cheat his way to the top, and he couldn't do it. And so he got caught, In comes Heupel. Heupel automatically knew what to do. First spring game that he coached, I said, we got a winner because his offense was so high-powered.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, nobody has seen it at that level.
No.
I mean, Heupel was running that same offense at UCF.
Yeah.
And was successful.
Yeah.
With the Knights down there in Florida. But he comes to a school at the level of the SEC with Tennessee and gets a chance to have better athletes, get a chance to run it even faster than what he did.
Yeah.
Which is why now you have the NCAA cracking down on fake penalties, because that was the only way.
Alabama game.
That was the only way that you could stop a high-powered offense like that played that fast, is to fake an injury. And if you remember back when Tennessee played Ole Miss in Neyland, that got us all in trouble when we threw mustard on the field, Kiffin was the one that started all of this. But he says, if you'll go out there, fake a cramp, go down, grab your leg, they have to stop and give our defense a chance to get their breath.
Yeah.
That's what he did. That is why our fans threw mustard on the field, because they said, here, take this for the cramps.
He's a hot dog.
Then it all makes sense if you're wondering, why would they throw mustard? That's why.
He's a hot
because
dog.
Kiffin decided that he was going to be the one to stop this
And he was still
offense.
doing it, too.
And he did it.
And he's still doing it.
doing it today.
And, and Alabama got nailed 15 yards for that thing because it was so clearly a violation. You had to be blind.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But that sort of thing. That sort of thing, and you hadn't wondered that maybe the NCAA is going to start really making some rules after the season on the fake injury point.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk about the World Series, NFL football, pro basketball starting, and the field is set for the World Series, of course. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, Channel 18.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Okay, we are back. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball. The World Series has been set up. And sort of like the old days, where now it's the Yankees, first time in 9 years, I believe they're in the World Series, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, the Los Angeles Dodgers used to be known as Brooklyn Dodgers, and it used to be known as the Subway Series because you could take a subway to either site. And, of course, that should be a very interesting thing. Bradley, I know you wanted your Atlanta Braves, of course, Choketober comes to mind.
Injury riddled, and just never could get the offense to go. And the Braves, I'm surprised they made the playoffs. I was tickled with that. But everybody knows that I'm a football fan at heart, but I love the Atlanta Braves and I love baseball. And everybody that's good friends with me has asked me, Bradley, who are you cheering for in the World Series with the Yankees and the Dodgers? And I just have to look at them because I can't say either one. I can't say that I'm for this one, but here's what I want to do. Here's what I've decided I'm going to do. I said, is it possible for me to not cheer for the Dodgers or the Yankees, but cheer for Freddie Freeman? And obviously they said no. You've got to cheer for the Dodgers. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to cheer for Freddie Freeman. I'm not going to cheer for the Dodgers. I'm not going to cheer for the Yankees. I'm going to cheer for Albert Roberts because Albert Roberts is a diehard Dodgers fan, and I'm going to say I prefer the Dodgers to win because I want to see Albert see his team win the ring this year. But on paper, both teams have the largest payroll in Major League Baseball. I mean, but you've got the Yankees that have historically had the largest payroll for the past several years, and you've got the Dodgers that are Yankees West. I mean, that's just basically what it is. The best teams money can buy, and now you have them finally showing that the large payrolls pay off, as here they are in the World Series. As to who will win, I do not know. It's just it's going to determine on whose pitching is the one that performs, because we know both of them has potent offenses.
Okay, well, of course, Dodgers lost a legend. Fernando Valenzuela has died at age 63. Of course, he was with Los Angeles Dodgers, and he activated baseball fans, created culture phenomenon as Fernando Mania. Died on Tuesday. He was 63. So that's
hey, when he was on the hill. Now he was pretty dominant. You can't deny that.
Same age I am. Same age I will be in a month or so. So Fernando Valenzuela, one of those one of those legends. I heard about him. Though I'm not a big baseball fan, I have heard of Fernando Valenzuela. It's hard to with a name like that. It's hard to not to hear about a guy like that.
Well, we can't all be good people. So good people are baseball.
I'm gonna pick the winner on this, and I'm gonna pick the winner on this. Okay. And you can hold me to it.
Who's going to win it?
The Dodgers. The Dodgers. I say the Dodgers will win.
Why do you say that? Why do you say the Dodgers?
For Fernando. For Fernando. I would say that would be the reason. They'll probably have some sort of like something on the helmets, like his number or something like that, to commemorate the man who
I'm sure
really did the thing here tonight. Of course, Fernando Valenzuela, of course, one of the great baseball players of the Legion. Pete Rose earlier this year has died, and of course a lot of things happening here. But anyway. So that's the set lineup for the World Series, as it should be interesting here. Instead of the Subway Series, it's going to be the Airplane Series, because basically, unless you got a 4,000-mile subway, you're not going to get. Of course, the Dodgers moved to L.A. in 1959 after they got into a little bit dispute with laying out the simoleons.
Well, got to be honest with you, if it would have came down to the Yankees and the Mets, I mean,
that would have been interesting.
I would be thinking, is it possible that I can cheer for the ground to just open up and swallow them both? Because I don't. Well, if there's two teams, being a Braves fan, now I know your rivals in the divisions are always going to be there. Your Phillies, we don't like the Phillies, but as a Braves fan, I just cannot stand the New York Mets, and I cannot stand the New York Yankees, and I never have, and I never will. And the hardest pill for me to swallow was years ago when Glavine went in free agency and played the New York Mets.
Well,
and I actually, y'all you think I'm kidding? This is how much it means to me. I actually teared up in Cooperstown when Glavine, Maddox, and Bobby Cox was inducted that year.
Yeah.
Me and my dad went, and we were up there going through the displays, and they have them set up. If you've been to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York,
pictures of
you know what I'm talking about. But the display for each player has some memorabilia in there. There's cleats, their ball, bats, jersey, hat, whatever, a glove. And I look at Glavine, and I see all these Braves things and New York Mets jersey hanging in there, and I got teary-eyed.
Well,
and I said, that right there is the ultimate heartbreaker for me. And because I couldn't stand it. I said that the blue and orange has no place in that locker room with the red, white, and blue Braves. I'm sorry. It just don't. I can't stand the Mets, can't stand the Yankees. So I guess my hatred for the Yankees is greater than my dislike for the Dodgers. So that not only does Albert and Freddie Freeman give the Dodgers points, they're also, in my opinion, the lesser of two evils. So
I would say Dodgers 4-3. Okay, I guess I'm saying it's going to be that. Now but they say, well, Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame. He is in the Hall of Fame. His uniforms, this sort of thing. So technically, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's just not on that wall.
He has memorabilia there. He's got
so he's there.
His jersey's there. Some of his cleats are there.
An energy drink.
Those things. Yeah, there's a section about just for the Reds, and they have a lot of Pete Rose things in that. However, he's not enshrined.
No, not
with a plaque on the wall.
Right.
And that is the standard.
I think that's
for baseball.
I think that's going to change.
I think it's going to change, but I'll tell you what I would do, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I said this when Pete Rose was alive.
Yeah.
I said, when he passes, they'll lift the band, and they'll induct him into the Hall of Fame. And now that they've done that, it may be wrong with me, it may just be that but the baseball fan in me, if I was his family, and Major League Baseball approached me and said, hey, we want to put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, I would have to tell them no. Because if you didn't want him when he was alive, you're not going to get him when he's dead.
Well,
that's not right.
I know that. Probably is that it will happen probably within 2 or 3 years. But every sport has a Hall of Fame. You have the hockey Hall of Fame. You have baseball. You have college football, pro football Hall of Fame. Let's talk about some of the sayings that they say in it. In football, it's the kickoff, right? You kick off the football, right? Baseball, it's first pitch, right? You throw the first pitch. Basketball, the tip off. What do they call it in hockey?
Puck drop.
Dropping the puck.
Yeah.
Dropping the puck or puck drop. They dropped the puck. and that sounds, it sounds weird. Dropping the puck or puck dropping.
Well, you can't say the tip off because they're not tipping off, and you can't say the first shot. You can't say the first pitch.
Skating can be considered the first skate touching the ice or something like that? Should there be something like that? Or something like that? But you look at all those sayings and that sort of thing. But to be honest, it's just how you look at it. I guess George Carlin used to have a saying about football. In football, you call a penalty. In baseball, it's an error.
I've heard his bid on that. Yeah,
it's hilarious. This is and of course he has the sports scores and the partial score 1. But that sort of thing. We let's talk a little bit about pro football, and it's reaching the midway point, and there are a lot of trades and a lot of injuries going on. And of course, you get that in any sport by this time.
Well, I'd say the biggest surprise in pro football right now is the Washington Commanders. I mean, it's still hard for me to say Commanders. I want to say Redskins because that's what they'll always be to me.
Yeah.
But the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU, is their starting quarterback right now, and he's lighting it up. They're 5-2 on the year, leading the NFC East over the Eagles and the Cowboys, who Cowboys just can't seem to get it together. But obviously your Chiefs are still undefeated, 6-0, because that's just kind of the way that the NFL works. And if it wasn't for the Chiefs, people wouldn't be saying the NFL was scripted. But anyway, the Chiefs win by $50 billion. I think they're the only team that gets awarded touchdowns for penalties.
Yes.
So I'm kidding about that, by the way. But the Bills are up there in the top. They're leading the AFC East. The Chiefs obviously leading the AFC West. Our poor Titans, they're last place. They're bottom of the barrel. I'm not sure. Pound for pound, they're probably the worst team in the NFL right now.
They could bring Dobbs back.
Well, they could bring Dobbs back, but I think Dobbs is pretty set. He's the backup for Brock Purdy out in San Francisco right now.
And Hendon Hooker would be another would be another.
Hooker would be a good addition. They do have Will Levis. Remember, he played for Kentucky a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That was predicted to be a top 10 draft pick. Fell down in his draft order significantly. Was drafted very late by the Tennessee Titans. They thought he might be the one to take over and do better than Tannehill and those others that the Titans have had before, but Levis is not the answer. Of course, he might play a little better if our offensive line can actually block somebody.
You know, the Titans could do better if they pump in crowd noise like some Alabama fans claimed that Tennessee did last Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How can you pump in crowd noise when the crowd noise and that's already there among all these fans were so loud that that you could not do it. 2 years ago, I remember they were so loud I had to turn the TV down. It was giving me a headache.
Up there, I wasn't there for Alabama game, but I can tell you this, and I know that you can construe the numbers to show something that may or may not be true. But when Tennessee was playing Florida, toward the end, when it was third down, and when Florida was about to kick that field goal, it shows on the Jumbotron. We were on the end where they ran out of the tee.
Yeah.
So from our looking from Y6, looking up at the Jumbotron,
Yeah.
the original Jumbotron,
Yeah.
on that end, the decibel levels got up to 143.
That's an airplane taking off.
That was the highest that I had ever seen it. Now, it stayed solid pretty much between 119 and 124.
Yeah, that's loud. You know, you look at
But now,
Alabama. They should have now. Those players knew how loud Neyland Stadium is. They made no excuse. They made no bones. It was the loudest place.
Yeah.
What it is that Kalen DeBoer should have prepared that team better for the noise, because the noise was throwing him off from the very beginning. They settled down somewhat, but you could tell on their first possession that the noise was just absolutely.
Well, when you get in those stadiums like that, I mean, you look at let's historically large stadiums, the Big House, Michigan. They do have a large stadium capacity, but it's one level that goes up. So the sound travels, and it doesn't get as loud. You look at Penn State in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. Yeah. They have levels. They're extremely loud. You look at the bowls like Neyland, the bowl-type stadiums. There's nowhere for the sound to go.
Yeah.
And they have the upper deck that kind of traps that sound in there. It has nowhere to go, and it just rattles. That's why LSU is so famous, because they, like Tennessee, it's happened in Knoxville before too, but LSU was the first to do it. Was down in Death Valley. They were so loud that across campus at the geology department, the seismograph picked up an earthquake because they were so loud in Death Valley. That's what you have when you have those, those two-level stadiums where the sound is just trapped right there. That's why Bristol is so loud.
Well,
because there's nowhere for the sound to go.
You look at it. They had a video across the road from Neyland Stadium. This was about a mile away. Mm-hmm. You could hear the fans singing Rocky Top. And it was that loud. And if you can hear the fans singing Rocky Top from a mile away.
Well, they cut to a camera on ESPN when Tennessee played Florida, and the ESPN camera was shaking.
Yeah.
And it was disturbing the projection of the TV and making things blurry because the camera itself was vibrating.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's something to think about.
I've been there in the upper sections, and it's like everybody start talking around, and I was really getting concerned that I thought this upper section was going to collapse. It was like being in a little earthquake.
It's one thing to sit in the upper section and feel that because you can feel the stadium move. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to sit down on the bottom and feel when you're like basically, if you walk into the stadium and you're down some, you're technically underground because the field is below ground level. So you go in there and you go down, so you're pretty solid down the bottom, and it's moving and vibrating.
I think a comparable.
You can feel that.
A comparable sound is like when they were launching Apollo missions to the moon. They used the Saturn V. Now the Saturn V lifts off, and for like 3 seconds you don't hear anything. Then the sound comes of that giant rocket with 7 million pounds of thrust, and he said they could feel it in their chests. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't so much as what they heard, it's what they felt. That's what being in Neyland Stadium is like. You feel the sound rather than hear it, because it vibrates your chest, because it vibrates in you, and that's how it is. They did have the game Alabama 2 years ago where they had the seismometers go off on that, so it was sort of an earthquake game. But let's get back to a little bit of the. But now let's talk about pro basketball. It's just started out this week, so obviously there's still going to be a long season. Still had to sort itself out. Hockey, the Predators finally won a game, and among other things, and after 5 opening day losses. So obviously a lot of things here to be happening too. Okay, well this is going to do it for us. We're going to say adios. Bradley, you have some words to say?
Always do, Mike.
That's right. So
I always have one thing to say. Number 1, go blue, go Braves, and go Big Orange. And don't forget the Weepees playing for the championship down here in the Harvest Bowl Saturday. And tune in this Saturday for some good college football matchups. Alabama will be playing Missouri. They'll be hosting them. Oregon is hosting Illinois.
Texas will be at Vanderbilt.
Bert Baliema will be going into Eugene, Oregon to see what he can do with the Ducks. And Texas will be in Nashville at Vanderbilt. And Texas A&M will be hosting LSU. And that's going to be some really big marquee games going on this weekend. So tune into that. And the World Series starts Friday. A lot going on right now. And Bledsoe County, of course,
lot
going on.
Gordonsville, they'll be playing Gordonsville Friday night. It'll be senior night. The seniors will be honored. And we'd like you to show up for that game to honor the seniors for their accomplishments in the last 4 years. And of course, Bledsoe County, of course, trying to go to 8-1 and for the finale against Oneida at Oneida on Halloween night. So this will do it for myself, Mike Smith, Bradley Hargis, and the Mike and Bradley Show. We bid you farewell. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll be back for another edition of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene as you're watching it on Bledsoe Telephone Crawford Channel 18 and WAT AM 10. Pre-game 6:30 p.m. Kickoff 7 p.m. at John Boynton Stadium, James B. Warden Field. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks here on the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene.